Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your WWE Survivor Series post-show. Starting off tonight, we got a Women's War Games matchup where Charlotte Flair is the first entrant for her team, followed by Asuka coming out for her team. The match itself was a decent match, back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with Asuka keeping the pace of the match. Asuka and Flair both exchange in the middle of the ring. Io Sky is the next entrant into the match. Io then hits a running knee using a trash can lid on Asuka. Becky Lynch is the next entrant into the match. Becky then hits Io with a kendo stick. Becky and Flair then both exchange in the middle of the ring. Alexa Bliss is the next entrant into the match. Alexa and Flair then both hit a natural selection in the middle of the ring. Kairi Sane is the next entrant into the match. Kairi hits Alexa and Flair with a chain. AJ Lee is the next entrant into the match for her team. Becky then stops Lee from entering the cage. Lee then climbs up the cage to get into the match. Nia Jax is the next entrant into the match. Nia then hits a devastating powerbomb on Io Sky in the middle of the ring. Rhea Ripley is the next entrant into the match. Rhea then hits Asuka, Becky, and Kairi Sane with a kendo stick. Lash Legend is the next entrant into the match. Lash then hits a chokeslam on Flair in the middle of the ring. Lash Legend and Rhea Ripley then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Lash Legend hitting a pump-up powerbomb on Rhea Ripley. Lash Legend and Nia Jax hit a powerbomb on Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Becky then hits a manhandle slam on AJ Lee, followed by Io Sky hitting a moonsault. Kairi Sane then hits an insane elbow on Io in the middle of the ring. Asuka then sprays Lash Legend with mist by accident. This allowed Alexa Bliss to hit a twisted bliss on Nia Jax. Io then puts a trash can on herself, climbing the top of the cage. And then Io hits a senton off the top of the cage, taking everyone out. Rhea Ripley then hits a riptide on Becky Lynch in the middle of the ring, followed by AJ Lee applying a Black Widow on Becky. Becky taps out, and your winners of the match are Flair, Bliss, Lee, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley. Hats off to Flair, Bliss, Lee, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have an Intercontinental title matchup where there's John Cena defending the Intercontinental Championship against Dominic Mysterio. Mysterio comes out to the crowd from a huge ovation from the crowd, his hometown crowd. The match itself, I thought, was a really good match. Back and forth matchup between Dominic and John, with Dominic keeping the pace of the match. Raquel Rodriguez, who was ringside, she ends up attacking John, with the referee being distracted. Mysterio then hits a Three Amigos, paying homage to the late great Eddie Guerrero on John Cena for a near fall. Mysterio then goes for a Hurricane Rana off the barricade and lands horribly. Doctors then were checking on Dominic Mysterio. Raquel then hits a Tejana bomb on John Cena in the middle of the ring, followed by Roxanne Perez, who was also ringside, hitting her signature pop rocks on John Cena. Mysterio then gets up from being out on ringside, hits a 619, followed by a frog splash on John Cena. Referee then sees this, throws out Raquel and Roxanne Perez. Cena then hits a 5-knuckle shuffle on Dominic Mysterio, followed by John applying an STFU on Dom, but the hold is broken. Mysterio then unzips his boot, hits another 619, followed by a frog splash on John for a near fall. John then gets up, hits an AA on Dominic Mysterio for a near fall. Mysterio and John then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with John going for a shoulder tackle, but missed and hit the referee. John then applies an STFU in the middle of the ring. The Judgment Day, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough come out to the ring. They attack John Cena. Cena then hits an AA on JD and Finn Balor in the middle of the ring, followed by another AA on Dominic Mysterio. All of a sudden, John's standing in the middle of the ring, looking for the referee, but then Liv Morgan's music hits. Liv comes out to the ring. She stands in the middle of the ring, facing Dominic Mysterio. She ends up smacking Dominic in the middle of the match. Liv then walks up to John Cena, hits a low blow on John Cena. This allowed Dominic Mysterio to hit a 619, followed by his signature frog splash off the top rope, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new WWE Intercontinental Champion is Dominic Mysterio. Hats off to Dominic Mysterio for getting the win in this matchup and becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. Moving on from that, we have a Women's World Title matchup where Stephanie Vaquer defends the Women's World Title against Nikki Bella. This match itself, I thought, was an okay match at best. Back and forth matchup between Nikki and Stephanie, with Stephanie keeping the pace of the match. Nikki Bella hits a rack attack on Stephanie for a near fall. Stephanie then hits a Devil's Kiss on Nikki Bella off the announce table on the outside. After that, we have Stephanie hitting another Devil's Kiss on Nikki Bella in the middle of the ring, and then Stephanie ultimately hits the finish on Nikki Bella, pins for the 3, And your winner of the match and still Women's World Champion is Stephanie Vaquer. Hats off to Stephanie Vaquer for getting the win in this matchup. And moving on from that to round out Survivor Series, we got the main event of Survivor Series. It is the Men's War Games matchup. CM Punk is the first entrant for his team, followed by Braun Breaker coming out to be the first member of his team. The match itself, I thought, was a really good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Drew McIntyre coming out to the ring. Drew and Punk both exchange in the middle of the ring, followed by Drew McIntyre quickly hitting a Claymore kick, taking out CM Punk. Rhodes is the next entrant for his team. Drew then stops Rhodes from entering the cage. Rhodes then climbs the cage, takes out McIntyre. Rhodes then hits a Cody Cutter quick in the middle of the ring, followed by Rhodes and Punk hitting a Doomsday Device on Braun Breaker. Logan Paul is the next entrant for his team. Logan then hits Rhodes with a chair shot. Logan and Rhodes then both exchange on the top of the cage. Drew then hits Punk with a chair shot. Jimmy Uso is the next entrant into the match. Jimmy then hits a Uso in the wind off the top rope, followed by Braun Breaker hitting a Frankensteiner off the top rope on Cody Rhodes. After this, Bronson Reed is the next entrant into the match. Reed then hits a Tsunami on Punk, Jimmy Uso, and Cody Rhodes. Jimmy Uso then somehow gets up, hits a super kick on everyone in the middle of the ring, followed by Jey Uso being the next entrant into the match. Usos then quickly hit a 1D on Logan Paul in the middle of the ring. After this, Brock Lesnar comes out to the ring. He's the next entrant for his team. Lesnar then hits a suplex on everyone in the middle of the ring, followed by an F5 on everyone as well. Lesnar then hits everyone with a chair shot. After this, Roman is the next entrant into the match. Lesnar then left the cage, waiting for Roman to enter the cage. After this, Roman then hits two Superman punches on Lesnar. Lesnar then hits an F5 on Roman through the announce table on the outside, followed by Lesnar hitting an F5 on Roman. Punk then hits a GTS, followed by Rhodes hitting a Crossroads on Lesnar for a near fall. Heyman then gives Logan Paul the brass knuckles. Logan then hits Rhodes with the brass knuckles. Roman then hits a spear on Logan, followed by Roman grabbing the brass knuckles, hitting a Superman punch on Drew and Bronson Reed with the brass knuckles. Roman then hits a spear on Breaker in the middle of the ring, followed by Roman hitting another spear on Lesnar through a table. Breaker then gets up, hits a spear on Jey Uso, followed by Breaker hitting a spear on Rhodes as well. Punk then hits a GTS on Logan Paul in the middle of the ring. Then all of a sudden, a masked person climbs the cage, gets into the match, and this person ends up attacking CM Punk with a foot stomp. After that, the masked assailant leaves the ring and runs through the crowd and leaves the arena. After this, Breaker then capitalizes on this by hitting a spear on CM Punk, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Drew McIntyre, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Brock Lesnar. Hats off to Drew McIntyre, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Brock Lesnar for getting the win in this matchup. Couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, before I get the hell up out of here, man. As far as Survivor Series is concerned, you know, Survivor Series for me, as a fan, has always been one of my favorite pay-per-views or PLEs for WWE. I mentioned multiple times in the past the big 4 pay-per-views for me that I enjoy every year for WWE, whether it's the Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and also WrestleMania. To be honest with you guys, man, I think this year's Survivor Series honestly flopped, to be honest with you. Yes, they had about 45,000 people at the San Diego Padres Stadium. I think it's called Petco Park. I mean, the crowd was incredible. But the quality of matches that we got, man, I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest with you. And honestly, for what it's worth, I'm all for quality over quantity. But I don't understand why WWE wouldn't even add a 5th match to this PLE. For multiple reasons. I mean, look, man, if we're going to start off the show with the Women's War Games matchup, and like I said, there's some things about this show that I liked, and some things that I didn't. The Women's War Games matchup, to me, honestly, was not needed at all this year. I feel like it was put together out of thin air. I mean, I understand the Kabuki Warriors and what they were trying to do, and go after the women's tag team titles, and Io Sky. I get that. And Rhea Ripley. Not for nothing, man. You could have had a tag team matchup between both Rhea and Io Sky taking on the Kabuki Warriors. There was no need for a Women's War Games matchup. I think the reason why they did it for the women this year is because the men's were also getting a War Games match this year, which, not for nothing, was much needed for the men. With that being said, I just feel like the Women's War Games matchup was just not needed this year. I felt like it was lackluster. You got both sides of the fence here with different teams with Rhea Ripley and EO and Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, AJ Lee. I mean, it was great to see AJ Lee, I think the first time ever in a women's War Games match type element, which was awesome. But then on the other side of the fence, you had the Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, and Becky Lynch. I just feel like the match wasn't needed, to be honest with you, man. And I'm not trying to, hate on the women roster of WWE. I just feel like this match was not needed at all, to be honest with you. And this wasn't the only women's match I really had an issue with either on Survivor Series. Which gets me into my next point of why I didn't like this show. The Nikki Bella Stephanie Vaquer match, man, I felt honestly was not needed at all, nor was it needed to be a match on this year's Survivor Series. That match between Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World title could have main evented any Monday Night Raw or been a part of this Monday Night Raw coming up. I just feel like that match was not needed. Nikki Bella, they're honestly, for what it's worth, with all due respect to Nikki, there could have been a lot of other people in that slot besides Nikki to challenge Stephanie Vaquer. Roxanne Perez, Raquel Rodriguez, in my opinion, then Nikki Bella. I don't know what the agenda here is with Nikki. Obviously, Nikki just took the L against Stephanie for the Women's World title. I don't know what their plan is with Nikki as far as WWE is concerned. I don't really know the agenda. I don't really know where they're going to be pushing her now after she lost against Stephanie. To me, honestly, I don't really think there's a need for Nikki Bella to be on WWE television right now. And it might be a hot take. I know the Bella Army might be pissed off with that, but it is what it is. I don't think Nikki Bella is really needed right now in pro wrestling. I just don't. I think I can appreciate the fact that she was trying to come back and trying to get back to her old glory days in WWE. I get it. And for a lot of fans out there that are Nikki Bella fans, it was probably a huge nostalgia feel to have her come back. To be honest, I could give a rat's ass with Nikki Bella being back in WWE. To be honest, I just feel like and not for nothing, leading up to this match with Stephanie, what has Nikki really done at this point, Nikki Bella, to grant herself an opportunity at the Women's World title? She's had more losses than wins. And it's not like she had some elaborate singles run since she's come back to WWE. It's been rocky, to be honest with you. So she really hasn't collected the wins, in my honest opinion, to grant her a Women's World title opportunity. The other reason why I feel like they gave Nikki this match is because the rest of the women's roster on Raw was pretty much in this War Games type matchup, to be honest with you. I feel like it's, they had to find someone to face off against Stephanie, which is fine. My thing is why did we have to have this match at this year's Survivor Series? Why could we not have it on Monday Night Raw after this Survivor Series event? To me, this matchup between Nikki and Stephanie was a glorified Monday Night Raw match. It was not needed. I don't think anybody genuinely gave a shit about this matchup, to be honest with you. And I think Nikki needs to go in the back of the line for multiple reasons, especially with the return that we just got at Survivor Series. I think Nikki needs to go in the back of the line. Like I said, I don't know what the agenda is or the plans for Nikki Bella moving forward in WWE, but I just feel like her services in WWE are not needed, to be honest with you. And not for nothing, there's other wrestlers that were released from WWE recently that I feel like would have a better position now in the roster than someone like a Nikki Bella. For example, a Shayna Baszler or, hell, Dakota Kai, rather than seeing a Nikki Bella, to be honest with you. I mean, Nikki Bella, up to this, before she returned, she was gone for a little bit of time. So it's not like, I don't think it was a lot of people clamoring for a Nikki Bella return if we're looking at the aspect of an AJ Lee compared to Nikki Bella return. I think a lot of people were way more excited for an AJ Lee return than a Nikki Bella return, to be honest with you. So I really wasn't thrilled with the Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vaquer match, to be honest with you. But there were some matches and moments that I genuinely enjoyed. I thought the Dominic Mysterio and John Cena match, I thought was awesome, to be honest with you. I thought it was great. Obviously being in San Diego, California, the hometown of Dominic Mysterio, he got a huge ovation and pop from the crowd, and they were locked into this matchup. You see John showing up. Everybody was obviously a fan of John Cena, and the match was really good. You had some interferences here for the Judgment Day, whether it was Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. We also had interferences from Finn Balor and JD McDonough to try to do everything they could to try to help Dominic Mysterio get the win in this matchup and retain or win back his Intercontinental Championship. and everything kind of fell flat. John Cena really pretty much faced the adversity that he was facing in this matchup, and everything, the future for Dominic Mysterio to win the Intercontinental Championship seemed very, very slim of him winning that belt back. And then we get the return of none other than Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan comes out to the ring to a huge pop and ovation from the crowd. But then she gets in the ring and then she smacks the piss out of Dominic Mysterio. So this had initially a lot of people confused. Is she turning babyface? Is she leaving the Judgment Day? It wasn't as if she came back dressed like a member of the Judgment Day. Now, she had the mask of Dominic Mysterio on her pants and stuff like that. So there was a little bit of confusion there at first, and then all of a sudden, she goes to jump on John Cena and hug John Cena, and then she had this, this ominous look on her face, this weird stare, if you will, of this like pure evil look on her face. And then once she, stopped hugging John Cena, she kind of looked at John and then gave John a low blow, which ultimately allowed Dominic Mysterio to hit the frog splash on John and pin him for the 1-2-3 and regain his Intercontinental Championship. So it looks like we had the reunion of Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. So like I said earlier, when it pertains to Nikki Bella, now with the return of Liv Morgan, who was the former Women's World Champion, who had to vacate the title due to injury, if I was writing for WWE, specifically Monday Night Raw, I would be, literally having conversations or entertaining the idea of Liv Morgan going back after that Women's World title, a title that she has never lost. A match that people want to see between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World title. So that's what I would entertain, and that's why I think Nikki Bella is going to be going into the back of the line and maybe have some matches mid-card at best. I don't really want to see Nikki Bella in the main event scene really anymore in WWE. And that might be a hot take for a lot of people. I just feel it's kind of how I feel about the Selena Vega deal. Vega, she's better off with Aleister Black. I think it's a great move for her. As far as in-ring, I just feel like they really had nothing for Zelina. Zelina really wasn't having that much progression, even with the Women's United States Championship, and it just fell flat. And Nikki Bella's on that same boat for me. I don't know what Nikki Bella is really going to be doing in WWE that's really going to spark my interest as far as, oh, man, it's Nikki Bella. She's going to have a great match. I could really give a rat's ass, to be honest with you. The other thing that I enjoyed, obviously, was the big elephant in the room, was the men's War Games matchup. The amount of star power that was in this match, whether you're looking at CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and the other side of the fence, you got the likes of Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar making his War Games debut. This was a great match. This was a really good match and a great moment. I mean, Brock Lesnar came out to the ring. The crowd had a huge pop for Brock Lesnar, huge ovation for Lesnar. And it was a moment where, like I told you guys leading up to Survivor Series, it was going to be that holy shit moment when you had Roman and Lesnar in the middle of this cage face to face. I mean, this was the first time that we ever seen Brock Lesnar in a War Games type element matchup. So he did not disappoint. I mean, he came into that match and beat the holy hell out of the other team with German suplexes, multiple F5s. He waited for Roman Reigns to show up. Roman hit multiple Superman punches on Lesnar. But then Lesnar hits an F5 on Roman, sending Roman through the announce table. So, I mean, Lesnar really was a big vocal point into this matchup, for sure. Until we get this masked assailant entering the ring and hitting a foot stomp on CM Punk, which allowed Braun Breaker to ultimately hit a spear on CM Punk and secure a win for his team. Now, this masked assailant, or this masked person that entered this match, it's got a lot of people talking. Who the hell was this person? Because this person was not revealed at all at Survivor Series. Who was this person? And Paul Heyman is a guy that's always going to have a plan B, no matter what. So now it's got a lot of people talking, a lot of people speculating on who this person was that entered the cage and ultimately hit a foot stomp on CM Punk in the middle of the ring. A lot of people have mentioned Seth Rollins. A lot of people have mentioned that this was Seth Rollins. Hell, there's some people even mentioned that this was Jon Moxley. Leaving AEW, coming over to WWE and hitting a foot stomp on CM Punk to cost CM Punk and his team the win at War Games. My honest opinion on the person who I think was the person who ultimately did the foot stomp on CM Punk in that matchup to help the Vision and their team get the win in War Games was none other than Austin Theory. I think this was a way to entertain the idea of Austin Theory. I think this was a great way to, reintroduce him to WWE. I think it was something that got the fans interested in possibly being Austin Theory, where he's going to get a lot of hate, obviously. He's going to be a humongous heel because he cost CM Punk and his team the win at War Games. But, again, you also had to ask yourself this question. War Games is now over. Now, what's going to be next for the Vision? I don't see Drew McIntyre staying with the Vision, or Logan Paul, or Brock Lesnar. Those guys are going to go off and do their own thing. McIntyre's going to go back to SmackDown. Logan Paul is going to do whatever the hell he wants to do. And obviously Brock Lesnar is going to do whatever the hell he wants to do. So it leaves Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed with the likes of a Paul Heyman. I don't see the Vision going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, after what happened at Survivor Series, I think that person that hit that foot stomp is going to be the new member added to the Vision now that Seth Rollins is gone. If it's not Seth Rollins. I genuinely believe that the person that was wearing that mask was none other than Austin Theory. He's been heavily rumored and speculated to join the Vision. We have not seen Austin Theory since the split between him and Grayson Waller. And a lot of people are pointing the finger towards Austin Theory as being a new member added to the Vision. I could be wrong on that. It's just my opinion, my prediction. If it is Seth Rollins, again, he pulled the rug underneath everybody's feet once again, and he was healthy to go and ready to return back into the ring, and he calls CM Punk the match at War Games. I don't know. But I also don't know how bad he's injured, how much time he needs laid off right now to recuperate from his injury. I don't know. But my prediction is that this possibly could be Austin Theory as the person of interest that hit the foot stomp on CM Punk and ultimately left the cage. I think it's Austin Theory because I think Paul Heyman and the Vision are far from over, and they're looking to add new members for the Vision, which I think Austin Theory, in my opinion, would benefit immensely joining the likes of a Paul Heyman, to be honest with you, if Austin Theory is coming back to WWE. Absolutely. So that's my prediction. Was I completely against this mass assailant coming in and costing CM Punk and his team the match? No. I wish they would have revealed who this person was, though, on Survivor Series and not had to wait till Monday Night Raw if we even get a reveal of who this person is. I'd rather have it at Survivor Series and make it a monumental moment at Survivor Series, but we did not get that reveal of who that person was at Survivor Series, so that was kind of a letdown. But, again, this was something, man, where, and I will say this, too, was I super intrigued about going into Survivor Series this year? No, I was excited about the men's War Games matchup because of what it meant and what the possible storyline could be going into the match and going out of the match. And we got storyline going out of the match on who the hell was that person that ultimately cost CM Punk and his team the match in the War Games at Survivor Series. That's the storyline getting out of Survivor Series. That's the story going into Monday Night Raw. But there was some, like I said, some high points and some low points of this year's Survivor Series. And I'm going to tell you this right now, man. On both sides of the fence here, whether it's AEW or WWE, 2025 has been a shit year for pro wrestling. And I made this abundantly clear early in the week. I made this abundantly clear last week. Pro wrestling as a whole, whether it's WWE or AEW, has been the drizzling shits for 2025. Absolutely. And while one company is suffering from storyline, being AEW, the other company that is on the other side of the fence, being WWE, I genuinely believe that the powers that be over in WWE are genuinely just interested in lining their pockets and getting money. The ticket prices for these shows to actually attend these shows are astronomically ridiculous. Astronomically ridiculous. It's insane. And they are raising their prices for attendance and everything else like that because they're just trying to generate dollars, man. Because TKO at one time was in debt. They're trying to make profit. They're trying to make money, which I understand it's a business. I get that. But I also made it well aware that when you're only having the mindset of making money, which is fine, it also takes away the real reason why you guys are here to begin with. And that's pro wrestling and the storylines that come with it. There was not a lot of storyline or intrigue going into this year's Survivor Series. Even for the women's War Games matchup. I mean, yeah, we got AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, but let's get one thing straight here between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. We haven't really heard that much rebuttal between Lee and Becky Lynch at all leading up to this women's War Games matchup, to be honest. And before the Maxine Dupree match that Becky Lynch had for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, We haven't seen AJ Lee on Monday Night Raw since before WrestlePalooza. So, I mean, again, there's really not a lot of rebuttal here between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. AJ Lee ended up showing up to help Maxine Dupree get the win over Becky Lynch and have Maxine Dupree become the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. But before that, we have not seen AJ Lee in WWE since WrestlePalooza, where she was teaming up with CM Punk to take on Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins at WrestlePalooza. So there's been some time where we have not seen AJ Lee on WWE television. So there really wasn't no back and forth banter here between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. And then, yeah, we have the Kabuki Warriors that were in some kind of storyline here between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Well, you could have made that into a tag team matchup. There was no need to add Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, or Lash Legend. You know what I'm saying? I really genuinely believe the Women's War Games match this year was really not needed. Honestly, it was not needed. I gave a rat's ass about that match, just like I gave a rat's ass about Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vaqueur's match, which is crazy because I'm a fan of Stephanie Vaqueur. I think she's great. She's a future Hall of Famer. And that girl can wrestle, man. She can wrestle. But this matchup with Nikki Bella was probably one of her worst matches in her career. Because she was the one carrying this match. Nikki Bella really wasn't doing jack shit in this match. And Nikki Bella did not do anything to grant her an opportunity at the Women's World title. She's had more losses than wins. And the majority of the matches that she's had since she's been back on Monday Night Raw, she's been in tag matches. You know what I mean? Like, she really hasn't done a lot to really grant herself an opportunity at a Women's World title. You know what I mean? Like, what have you done to really give yourself the opportunity to be in that spotlight for the Women's World title? You've done nothing. I would say the two things coming out of Survivor Series that was the best for me was the John Cena Dominic Mysterio match with the return of Liv Morgan, and the Men's War Games matchup where we had that masked assailant ultimately cost CM Punk and his team the match and allowed, the Vision and their team to get the win. And now no one knows who this masked assailant was. Nobody knows who it was. But my prediction and my opinion would be Austin Theory added to the Vision, where Paul Heyman brought in someone else to add to the Vision team that's already Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. But I think WWE right now, man, they're just about the money. They're all about the money, and they're trying to do whatever they can to generate dollars, man. That's it. The wrestling with WWE is taking a back seat. And they're just trying to do whatever they can to get money, generate dollars, man, and make it a more profitable company for WWE. But it also hurts the company in the aspect of doing that because it takes away from the wrestling and it takes away from the story. And I'm telling you right now that I feel like WWE is more into the money aspect of things than they are of the actual pro wrestling of things from here on out. Things need to change for WWE too, man. It's not just AEW. And I do believe that this year's Survivor Series, in some small capacity, was a huge flop this year, to be honest with you. 4 matches is not enough. And honestly, there were some matches on this card that I could have done without. I think this year's Survivor Series, ultimately, was a huge letdown, in my honest opinion. But with that being said, though, this is my review of WWE Survivor Series. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.